Look, you are not bad with money, but you might just be too deep inside of your comfort zone. And that used to be me, because I knew how to save money and I knew how to budget. There were a lot of these little things that I knew. I can look back and I can tell you that staying in my comfort zone slowed down my financial growth. And it probably added a few extra years before I can actually retire. The 5 hard truths that I'm about to share in this video helped me meaningfully grow my wealth, and I know for a fact that they've sped up my path towards financial freedom. If you have ever thought things like,
I'll never get out of the rat race,
or
everything is too expensive, or maybe I'm not cut out for this,
all I'm asking is that you pause for a second and you think about how important financial freedom is to you. How important is it to know that you are good no matter what happens in life? You're not dependent on that one job. You feel good and life is abundant. If that idea is important to you, the truth is that you can build wealth. You can get there sooner than you think. It's just that for most people, this will require stepping outside of your comfort zone. So let's jump into it. These are 5 hard things I did that helped me accelerate my path towards financial freedom, and I truly think you could benefit from doing the same. Number 1, I learned to invest. I learned to invest beyond the basics. Investing is not just about opening a retirement account or buying an index fund. That's a lot of the beginner advice that you're gonna hear online or even from financial professionals. It goes beyond just buying your first stock or fund. Investing is about understanding how money multiplies through different vehicles. That can mean stock market, real estate, business ownership, and even more advanced investing like private or alternative investments. Now, in reality, I do believe that there's an order to these things. I don't want you to run before you can walk. Don't throw all of your money into some volatile asset or investment before you have your foundation down, before you have an emergency fund, before you've fixed your overspending habits. What I'm simply saying is I do want you to run after you've learned to walk. If you want to accelerate your path to your goal, you're gonna have to do some running. Once you have a good financial foundation and you're starting to build wealth, the key is that you don't stop there. Just ask yourself, what else can I learn beyond the basics? What are the different paths I can take to reach financial freedom sooner? Mini tangent, in all honesty, I think that this is especially important for women, for people of color, for other marginalized groups. If we keep doing only the safe things with our money, we're always gonna be behind. And I hate the fact that I feel like we have to take more risk because there's inherently more risk for marginalized groups. But I want to start planting this seed in your head as you build wealth that risky doesn't necessarily mean unsafe. There are tons of strategies that wealthy people use to reduce their risk. You can't eliminate risk, but you can manage it. So don't stay comfortable thinking you know everything there is to know about money and investing. Just keep learning. Number 2, something else I did to speed up my path towards financial freedom is I increased my appetite for risk. I just mentioned that a little bit, but wealth building is part math and it's part mindset. You can't grow financially without learning to tolerate some level of risk. Because if you couldn't tolerate any risk at all, you would keep all of your money in a bank account, you would never invest, and even then, you are exposing yourself to risk. It's called inflation risk. Inflation risk is the risk you take when you don't invest, because what it means is that your money is gonna lose purchasing power over time. The gist is that you can't save or earn your way to financial freedom. Because of inflation eating away at the value of your money, you have to think about investing. Investing means buying assets like stocks, real estate, funds, and other financial vehicles that can do one of 2 things: increase in value over time, aka appreciate in value, or generate income and provide cash flow for you. The thing to know is that every investment has some form of a risk. Stocks carry market risk, meaning the value can drop. Real estate has liquidity risk. If you buy a home or a commercial property, your money is tied up until you sell it or refinance or borrow against the equity of that property. Then there are physical risks like property damage or market downturns. When I say that I increased my appetite for risk and this has helped my financial journey, what I'm really saying is, going back to the first point, I learned more about investing beyond the basics, and I learned more about how the financial world works. You're watching my channel because you're interested in improving your finances and building long-term meaningful wealth. The more you grow your wealth, the more decisions you're gonna face that are gonna test your comfort level with risk. So be prepared for that on this journey and know that it's part of the journey. What I did in my own situation is, over time, as I learned more, I trained myself to be okay with calculated risk. I learned how markets generally work. I've learned how to make smart, appropriately sized bets according to my own financial situation. And I've learned how to stay calm instead of acting emotionally. I can't say the same for my very first cryptocurrency investment where I lost money, but now I'm on the other end where I feel very confident in all the financial decisions that I make. Think of it like the stronger your base, the more of a financial net you have, the more flexibility you actually have to take risks. But at the end of the day, it's not just about money, because there's a lot of people who have a lot of financial cushion, but still don't take risk. So it's kind of two parts. You want to have the financial cushion, build up your foundations, but you also want to start shifting that mindset around how much risk you are willing to take. Number 3, another thing I did to get out of my comfort zone and accelerate my path towards financial freedom is I started demanding what I am worth. Most people are underpaid not because they're not talented, but because they don't ask. I won't go on this tangent, but there are also systemic inequities, but that's a topic for another video. What I'm talking about is what you have control over. And what you have control over is getting out of your comfort zone. I was in my comfort zone in my career for many years, and for the last 2 jobs that I got, I did not negotiate my job offers. Part of it was because I was just so grateful to get hired, because it was a tough job market when I got out of college and got my first job. And then when I got my next job, I nearly doubled my salary, so I didn't even think to ask for more. It wasn't until later where I learned from friends who head up HR departments that most offers do have room for negotiation. It depends on the company and it depends on the role, but you may as well ask. Your income is one of the most powerful tools for wealth building. You have to make sure that you're being compensated for the value you provide. So like I said, I did not negotiate early in my career, but it is a skill I've been building over the last couple of years, especially now that I'm running my own businesses. The thing is, I had to learn fast. It was really hard at first when I first started growing an audience on TikTok, because I was getting these offers for brand deals, but a lot of them were offering chump change. A few $100s for sponsored posts, which could potentially mess up the trust that I had with the audience I was building up. I had to fight for what I think I was valued. So I consider myself a generalist, which means that when it comes to working jobs and being on the business side of things, I can do a lot of functions. I understand finance, I understand operations, strategy, marketing, etc. I'd say my one weakest area that I've been improving over the years is my ability to sell. Because selling takes me outside of my comfort zone, where I hate asking for money and asking for people to pay me more, but people who ask get rewarded. I'm not even gonna lie. Sorry, I keep going like tangent within tangent, but this is important for me to share. As many of you know, I have an e-course that I offer for beginners who want help with their finances but can't quite afford working with me one-on-one. I struggle because I want my programs to be affordable, but I also have to make a living. So I've talked to a couple consultants in the last year or so, and across the board, industry experts are telling me that I'm underpriced for my credentials, for what I offer, but it's something I'm working on. So just a bit of honesty for you guys. It's very uncomfortable for me, but I am learning to stand my ground because I do not want to undersell my value. So not to toot my own horn, but if you want a full, comprehensive financial education that meets you where you are, that doesn't shame you, taking my course, Hello Money Bootcamp, is gonna be a steal. So that is me being uncomfortable right now, promoting my bootcamp. All right, tangent done. Essentially, if you don't demand your worth, you are going to lose out on money. You're not just losing out on money today, but you're losing out on future compounded growth. Anytime you don't negotiate that job offer, anytime you don't ask for a raise, anytime you undersell yourself when you have products or services, you're not just reducing your money today, but you are delaying your long-term wealth. Because money in your hands today is worth more because of the fact that you can invest it. All right, we have 3 down, 2 more to go. If you are getting anything out of this video, please hit the like button so that it can reach more people, especially women who I want to hear this message. And if you're not already subscribed, make sure you do that so you can keep learning about building wealth and building abundance. Let's wrap up the list with the next 2. Number 4, something else that I had to do to get out of my comfort zone that has helped my finances. I invested in better communication skills. These skills increase my earning power and will continue to in the future. So let's talk skills in general. Building skills is one of the most underrated forms of investing. Now, I'm biased. I'm a lifelong learner. I will be taking classes for the rest of my life. I took a pottery class last year. I've taken coding classes. I went back to school for financial planning. I'm not saying everyone has to do that, but I do want you to think about your own personal and professional development. If you can build the right skills, those can multiply your income over time. So the skill that I'm continuously working on that I actually think can multiply your income is improving your communication skills. If you can communicate well and communicate confidently, you can get more promotions at work. There will be more opportunities coming your way. If you own a business, your business will grow. I think communication, speaking clearly, and speaking confidently, both in a small room and also in front of a crowd, I think this is one of the highest ROI skills that you can build, a high return on investment. Currently, I attend Toastmasters meetings every week on Friday mornings in person where I practice speeches, I practice just talking in front of people. And in the 2 years I've been doing this, I can tell you that at the very beginning, even me, who's a content creator, who is on camera all the time, I used to get shaky before I had to speak in front of people. A lot of times audience members would say, oh, I didn't even notice, but I knew it. I knew that I was sweating and I would be shaky and I wouldn't feel confident. So between Toastmasters and I've also previously taken improv classes at a couple different improv schools here in Los Angeles, those have helped me think on the fly more and feel comfortable being vulnerable. So all these experiences I think have helped me become a stronger and more confident speaker, but also a more confident thinker. And another small fun fact about me is in the past, when I used to make YouTube videos a couple years ago, it would take me hours to finish one video because I would do multiple takes because I didn't like a take or I felt like I was rambling and it was all over the place. Now I am so much more confident in speaking that I do most of my videos in one take. Now, you don't have to be a YouTuber or a public speaker for this skill to be important. I think your ability to communicate directly affects your ability to earn, regardless of what field you're in. It's kind of interesting that even people who are introverts, who have back office jobs, who don't have to talk to clients, they still get tested on their communication ability during interviews before you get the job. And then when you're in a job, you still sometimes have to lead meetings, pitch things to clients, advocate for yourself. Any form of communication that you have can further your career, further your earning potential, and further your wealth building. So I think communication is a great skill to learn. All right, let's wrap up this list with number 5. I've built a personal brand. Quick definition, your personal brand is basically like the modern version of your resume. It's how people perceive you and the value you can bring. And if you have a strong personal brand, a person, a company will know what you are an expert at. So entrepreneurs use personal branding to attract clients, to attract investors, and employees who have a personal brand use it to stand out from other people, to get promoted, or even to land new opportunities. I honestly don't think there is such thing as permanent job security anymore. Maybe before 2020 I thought that, but now, especially in corporate roles, it feels like anything can happen at any time to anyone. So I think that building your brand is one of the safest long-term investments you can make in yourself and in your career. So a little bit of backstory. For years, I thought I didn't need a personal brand. I worked a corporate job at Google, and the more years I worked there, I thought it doesn't matter what my brand is. I have my resume saying I worked at Google for over 10 years. That is legit. People are gonna know I'm smart. They'll know that I can provide value to a company. But it's not until I got laid off and then later became an entrepreneur running my own business that I realized how important it is to have a very clean and clear personal brand. I've had to define who I am, what I do, and what I stand for. And then because I do have a public online presence, I had to make sure that my online presence, my social media accounts, my LinkedIn reflected that same brand. It's been a struggle because my brand has evolved a lot in the last 5 years as I've moved from this corporate generalist business strategy and operations person into a personal finance expert, a certified financial planner. I've had to not only tell that story to other people, but I've had to believe it myself and kick the imposter syndrome. Building my brand has enabled me to build audiences on YouTube, on TikTok. It's allowed me to get quoted in articles in big publications. I've been invited to speak on stages. I've partnered with major brands. Just having visibility on myself has opened doors and income streams that I couldn't have ever imagined. This is another situation where you don't need to be an influencer. You don't need to be a public speaker. You don't have to be any type of public figure for this to matter. But I do think having a strong personal brand can attract more opportunities for you and potential future jobs without you having to chase them later. I think having a brand builds trust, and over time, that trust can build income. And here's another upside of having a personal brand. Even if you don't have a big online presence, when you have a strong personal brand, it gives you confidence. Because even if you're not marketing yourself all crazy, maybe you are happy in the job you have, just having that brand gives you clarity on your own identity, on your own goals, and on your own career trajectory. So I think there's very little downside. In fact, not to give away my take, but make sure you check out my podcast episode to see what me and my best friend Liz think about it. So to wrap this all up, being in your comfort zone is obviously comfortable, but comfort is the enemy of growth. The sooner you can push yourself out of your comfort zone, the sooner you're gonna accelerate your path towards building wealth. Let me know in the comments the next thing you're gonna do to step outside of your comfort zone. Until next time, peace out.